I'm Colin Gillespie. I'm the Principal Air Scientist for SEPA. The air in Scotland is relatively clean, however there are some hotspots where poor air quality exists and doesn't reach standards that are there for human health protection. There's also areas within Scotland where the atmospheric deposition of air pollution breaches what we consider environmental protection limits. Air quality has improved significantly since the 1950s, where we saw a lot of smog episodes within major cities. These were mainly due to coal burning and industrial emissions. We now see other emission sources such as traffic, and the pollutants themselves have changed from heavy particulates such as soot and sulphur dioxides to much smaller gases such as nitrogen dioxides and finer particulates. These are just as damaging to human health as smog episodes were back in the 50s. There's a whole range of pollutants in our atmosphere, and these come from a range of different sources. Some are man-made, some are natural. So from vehicle exhausts, factories, our homes, we emit nitrogen dioxide, sulphur dioxides, and very fine particulates. Whereas agricultural sources emit ammonia. These all have detrimental effects on the environment and on our health. Particulates are very fine particles of dust, gases, and they contain a whole range of different chemicals. Some are very toxic, some are less toxic. You can get a range of different sizes. Ultrafine particles and fine particles can get right into your lungs. Some of them can also cross into the bloodstream. Within the atmosphere, there's primary pollutants emitted from vehicle exhausts, the cars you drive, the buses you go on, or from your homes, your offices, from the central heating systems, directly from factories, industrial processes, and also from agricultural sources. These pollutants don't just stick to the point where they're emitted, they actually move out of urban areas and into the countryside. These can undergo various chemical reactions within the atmosphere and transform into secondary pollutants. These could be acidic pollutants, such as sulfuric acid, nitric acid, or they can actually generate secondary pollutants, such as ozone. You can then get long-range transport of pollutants after they've been emitted. The long-range travel pollutants can come from Central Europe or even from America. We've seen that quite clearly recently through some of the natural emissions, such as the volcanic eruptions in Iceland, where sulphur dioxide came down the west coast of Scotland and Northern Ireland and Ireland. From the year 2000 to present day, we've seen a decrease in nitrogen oxides of around 45%. These have mainly been from industrial regulation and also from transport. For particulate matters, it's very difficult to pin down exactly one particular source that has reduced significantly. However, we've seen over a 30% reduction in particle matter emitted since 2000. Sulphur dioxide is mainly from power generation. That accounts for roughly 70% of the sulphur emitted, and since 2000 that's reduced by 55%. Ammonia is one of those pollutants that come from agricultural sources mainly, and it accounts for about 65% of that emitted into the atmosphere. Ammonia has decreased since 2000. The key change in emissions over the last 15 to 20 years has been the reduction that we've seen through tighter regulations on industry. These tighter regulations have really resulted in a massive decrease in some of the pollutants such as sulphur dioxide and even nitrogen oxides. The same can't be said though for traffic. We've had tighter emission standards for vehicles, however we haven't seen the same level of reductions. This is because of several factors. We've got more cars on the road and we've got a higher percentage of diesel vehicles on the roads. Air pollution is known to damage your health and also the wider environment. Air pollution isn't the same across the whole of Scotland. The impacts of some types of air pollutants can be locally damaging. but may have little effects on a national scale. These are hotspot areas. Other types of air pollution may cause damage at a national scale, adding acids and nutrients to land and water, damaging plant life and animal life. It can also damage buildings and structures. There are differences between air pollution within the urban environment and the pollution that we see in the rural environment. The urban environment is very much dominated by emissions from transport. Air pollution is important because it affects human health. It affects everybody. We all breathe it. It goes into our lungs. In the short term, it mostly affects people with existing health problems. For example, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide and ozone irritate the lungs, increasing the symptoms of those suffering from lung disease. Fine particles can be carried deep into the lungs, where they can cause damage and also contribute to heart and lung diseases. Long-term exposure to air pollution is also known to damage health and decrease life expectancy. Within the urban environment, local authorities are responsible for managing air quality in terms of planning and development decisions, management of transport, whilst at the same time we need to think about the choices that we make, the types of transport that we use. We have to reduce the use of private vehicles. We have to improve our public transport and encourage the use of alternative modes of transport, such as walking and cycling. We all have a part to play in improving the quality of the air that we breathe.